A few weeks ago, we went to the antique mall and we found this vintage Rebound game, which is like shuffleboard, but way cooler. Problem is, it's made out of plastic. So today, we're gonna make it out of wood. And today's video is brought to us by Squarespace.
He aims, shoots, off the right bank, the left wall, through the two blues. He's made it. Two-cushion Rebound, the competitive game for 2 or 4 players.
First thing I gotta do is cut these pieces of maple down so they're a little bit more manageable. Plane it down, surface it, do all that fun stuff, mill it up and get ready. All right, let's get to it. As soon as I'm done working out. For the main floor of this, I want to give it a bowling alley type of effect. So I'm going to cut a whole bunch of strips, mix them all up, and then glue them back together. I think it's going to look cool. Got them all arranged in some random order. And there we go. We'll let that dry for a little bit, and then we'll come back and flatten it all out. This is so fun. I could do this all day. When I got this from the antique mall, it didn't have the rubber bands on here, and I found a couple that fit. And gutter. I've got my bowling alley lane part all done and ready to go. I'm gonna break this down into sections. The first thing I want to do is I want to make these 2 triangle pieces that's going to go on here. I want all of my grain for all of the pieces going in the same direction. There's a bunch of cool angles. There's an angle going this way, there's an angle going this way, and even the top is angled here and angled here, although this is flat. And I'm going to try my best to recreate all those angles to stay true to the original design. The reason I cut 2 pieces is if this was one long piece and then I glued it on here, then I've got grain going 2 different directions. So I had to cut 2 pieces, they will get glued together like this, and then go on here. Make sure that's regulation, 135 degrees. I can now cut the 3 rails over at the table. So I've got the 3 rails cut here, and then I cut a little fish mouth on here so it wraps around the corner. Before I glue these on, I have to route a little gutter right here. So I'm gonna cut a template on the laser real quick to use that to run the guide bushing. Guide bushing? I'm gonna use that for my pattern for the router. And I'm just gonna use some double-sided tape to stick it right on here. I do not like routers. Not routers mounted in a table, and not routers in my hand.
I do not like that, Sam, I am.
I've got that pocket cut out for the puck gutter, so that's gonna fall right in there. Next thing I gotta do is glue on the 3 bumpers. We got 1 on each side and then 1 down the middle. And before I do that, I gotta cut away some wood right here because on this piece, it's got this little notch on there. Now we just glue these rails into place. All right, I'm gonna tilt my blade so it's the same angle as this piece here. That looks about good. I got those 2 angles cut. Just putting that slight bevel on there really just makes it look so much more cool in person. I gotta do the ends here, but before I do that, I need to put this little stopper at the end of the gutter here. Now that we got all the rails on there, I can square up the corners from that pocket that we routed earlier. The original has these rubber bands here that are held on by these pegs. So the next thing I gotta do is drill some holes and pound some pegs. Drill some holes and pound some pegs. And drill some holes and pound some pegs. Drill some holes, 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 pound some pegs. We have our first major mistake. On here, this is notched out a little bit so the rubber band can get close to the surface. I did not make that notch low enough, and so now the rubber band is not close to the surface. So I gotta figure out how to fix this. A feature on my miter saw that I have never used before until today, it has a depth stop. So I can set this in here and cut that out. That worked really, really good. We've got a few things left to do. One of the cool things, and I've got a pretty good idea of what I want to do, is have a little scorekeeper area on each side. We got to add the graphics up here, and then we need to add the graphics for the score area. So over here in Adobe Illustrator, I drew that up, and I'm going to send that out to my vinyl cutter. So I'm cutting some transfer tape here on my paper cutter. Put this on top of here. And there we go. Now, of course, this isn't level. I got a plan. Got a plan. While this is dry, we are going to make the little pucks for this game. This is basically a ball bearing that's press fit into this little plastic piece right here. I'm not gonna press fit it, I'm gonna do it in 2 halves. So I went and got a bunch of ball bearings. I designed this up in Fusion 360. Now we're going to make a silicone mold to make this and then glue the halves together. The resin that I have for my 3D printer is a little brittle, so instead of 3D printing all of them and glue them together, I'm going to 3D print the pieces so I can make the mold out of a resin that is not so brittle and that I can color to the exact color that I want. That's why I'm adding this extra step. Woodworkers love overkill. So the ball bearing is cradled in there, and then when I put the other half on there, there's room for it to move, but it's trapped in there. And it has to go up far enough so the ball doesn't stick out when it's on the plane surface. So it rolls like that. So now I'm gonna make a silicone mold with a less brittle material, and I can colorize it. So on the original board here, it's got the number on there for the score line. It's missing some pieces, but it's supposed to have a little arrow that slides along the piece so you can keep score. I've got the wooden board in the Rayjet R400, and we are going to engrave those score numbers right on the board. As you can see here, I got a piece of tape and I did a very light pass over there just to get my registration perfect. Got this steel ruler. I removed the cork backing, and I'm gonna glue this on there, and a magnet will fit right over there. So if I 3D print a little right-angled arrow, we can use that to keep score. Almost done. We just gotta add some finish, add some feet, and then I also wanna put this Rebound graphic along the top. So I took a photo of this, brought this into Adobe Illustrator, traced it out, looking pretty darn good. So over here on the Stepcraft M1000, I'm gonna cut that out of some walnuts and then glue it on there. So while we're adding the finishing touches, I'd like to tell you about today's sponsor, and that is Squarespace. As an artist, I just love sharing what I do with the world. I think it's just a common trait in a lot of artists, and Squarespace allows me to do that. And I know a lot of you are woodworkers and metalworkers and artists and creators, and you want to share what you have with the world, and you can do that with Squarespace. For 10 years, I was a professional web developer. I sat behind a desk making websites for other people as well as myself. Then a friend, Jordan, turned me on to Squarespace, and I have not looked back since. Squarespace allows me to focus on the important things while they take care of my website. That means you don't have to know a thing about the code, backend, the cloud, JavaScript, CSS. You don't have to know any of that. In fact, I'm using one of the templates that I modified just to make it look how I wanted. You can change out the colors, and you can add your own logos and your graphics and all your photos. You can have image galleries to show off your work. It's super easy. If you ever run into any kind of issues, they have 24/7 customer support. Let Squarespace allow you to focus on being creative and let them handle your website. So visit squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, visit squarespace.com/makesomething for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you, Squarespace, for allowing me to make these crazy, weird, fun projects. Now it's time to add the finishing touches and play some Rebound. I glued on the graphics, I 3D printed the scorekeeper, I put together all the pucks, and we are ready to play some Rebound. If you like this video, you are definitely gonna love this video where I take this thrift store lamp and turn it into modern, fine furniture. Ugh. That's how you hurt yourself.
You're home, I'm back.